I am so sorry about that. I didn't know that I had not adjusted my computer screensaver power settings, so the screen went blank, and I was horrified to learn that all of that was being recorded. The use of the F bomb, or the dropping of the F bomb, if you will, and also the evoking of a deity at the same time, are incredibly disrespectful. So I do apologize to anybody I've offended, especially my mom, who, God bless her, continually asks me, Jorge, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué todos fucking? And I say, as I tell her, si no hubiera fucking, none of us would be here, Mom. None of us would be here. And I know that at best is a very, very weak and ultimately disrespectful response and or rationalization. So, again, I apologize. And do bear with me in general. I'll try not to do it again. But just do know that this is decidedly DIY, and so things are going to happen. But back to the story. So I heard that Jinetero word for the first time in 2010 come out of the mouth of my former high school student, the Mouse, who I will call, to preserve whatever I can of her anonymity. In any event, she had gone to Cuba earlier that summer, about 3 months prior, as part of a cultural exchange program. And so this is all by way of a recap in case you did not read the second chapter and just kind of clicked around the media, as we are wont to do in this golden age of the new iPhone 6 and all of that stuff. Anyway, so she went to Cuba, set eyes on this guy day one. As soon as she walked into the studio and introductions were made, the resident dancers that had stayed in Havana, of which this man was one, were rehearsing a piece that kind of depicted colonial Spain and some sort of repressive behaviors on the part of the colonizers, if you will, and the governor. And this man, his name was Herodes. And if you looked at it, it would look like phonetically you can get away with pronouncing it, and you probably can, erode us. But it had some sort of funky spelling with Erodys or something like that. But as with a lot of Cuban names, all sorts of stuff can happen. He's liable to have been named Vladimir, or like that guy in that play The Heights, Usnavi and stuff. Cuban naming conventions are all over the map, literally, and generally have something to do with whichever government they have aligned themselves with for whatever reason. Although I really, really doubt that there are going to be a lot of Chinese-sounding names, because the Chinese are all over the island right now. They're the new Russians. In any event, Herodes, dressed in this colonial outfit with epaulets and boots and sashes and what have you, big black boots, and his dancing companion, the woman, was dressed in a colonial dress, and she looked beaten and tired, and it kind of makes sense in the context of that particular piece and that moment in the piece that they were rehearsing. Herodes had a whip in his hand, so he's dancing around and striding, and I suppose making a bunch of very bold kind of movements. But the bottom line, the man was beautiful, and his beauty and his presence was only enhanced by this freaking outfit. These power boots and a whip in his hand and what have you. Bottom line is, the Mouse, for the first time in her life, fell in love on sight. And it was on, man. It was on, And again, in terms of inhabiting the three types or three levels, if you will, of jineteros all at once, Herodes and she really, really connected. And in the matter of a few weeks, she had met his family. She had stayed with him. It was on, So they developed a fairly intense and almost like dance, a very physical dance-based relationship that quickly became sexual. And in that regard, it was just off the charts. His muscles, apparently, this was according to the Mouse, and as you can see, I really love details. I'm chismoso in that way, but his muscles were so hard that she had trouble, like she couldn't like massage him. She had gone to Thailand to learn about Thai massage the summer before. The Mouse, an amazing world traveler, even at that young age. In any event, she was like, I just, I felt I couldn't like make any kind of like, inroads or like anything that I could do. I could have like pounded on him with my fists or a hammer or something like that, and it wouldn't have affected him. He was so dense and so muscular. And I guess that's part of what made the sex so awesome, and I had visions in my head, and I'm going to place them in your head now because it's the least I can do, of him throwing her around the room and them doing some highly choreographed or at least stylized version of crazy animal sex, with the whole swelter and the romanticism of Cuba that I still had very much in my brain because I had not gone to Cuba yet and seen the island y la manera de ser y la vida ahí firsthand. So they fell in love, and one night, apparently, and it was toward the end of the summer, and things were getting kind of heavy, and discussions had already taken place about possibly continuing the relationship and maybe even, getting married. They arranged to meet each other at La Plaza de la Revolución. And in the next section, I'll review the lyrics and kind of how this relates to what ended up being included in the song lyrically. And so she went, like she had been told, meet me at La Plaza at this hour. And it was Sábado de la Rumba, this big, giant, pretty much free-for-all community dance that happened regularly on Saturdays. And so she goes, and she saw him in the crowd because he was very tall and just very easy to spot. And as she got closer, she noticed that he was no longer alone, or that he had not been alone. In fact, he had been talking to people, and she thought, he's a very popular guy, very beautiful man. But what happened was the people he was talking to was a group of foreigners, Swedish-looking women, and there were two, and then there were three, and when she approached him to kind of interrupt their conversations and say, hey, as she got closer and closer, she noticed that his body and his body language was such that there was something going on between him and the women. And when he turned around to face her after she called out his name, DIY thing, is when she realized what that going on was. And he gave her a look as if he did not know her. And in fact, he asked her what she was doing and who she was. And she was speechless. She was stunned. And he did it in Spanish. And I don't know if one of the women or if any of the women could speak Spanish, because unlike this country, most people in other countries outside of the U.S. Speak multiple languages. So I don't know, but I know that she was crushed. I know that the mouse had her heart broken right then and there for the very first time. And so it's a form of betrayal that I tried to capture, however superficially, because it was so heavy duty and I felt so bad for her in the song. So I think in general and in retrospect, I did a poor job of capturing that moment. But it's a hard thing to kind of do. So I'll leave you with that. And that's the story, at least this part of it. And now on to the song. And I'm going to hit this button thing because, again, I'm doing this by myself.